Hi everybody, this is Maria Lupita Gurule, and today I want to talk about a really great subject, super important, which all of them are, which is how do we know if we are fulfilling our life's purpose? We know that we are fulfilling our life's purpose by the way that it feels. I cannot emphasize enough the importance of our awareness of our feelings. Not just our feelings, but our deep emotions, our deep approaches to life and how we are showing up in it. So we know whether we're fulfilling our purpose or not by how we are feeling. What is our general mood? What is our attitude? What is it the way that we feel when we wake up during the day? I've had both experiences. I've had one experience where I'm following the path of society and what society expects by having the job and working for someone else, the regular Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, working for someone else. I also know the torture that feels like by not fulfilling my life's purpose. I was doing great work and learning so much through that by working for others. But there came a point in time when I began to feel stifled. I began to feel this inner dream and this inner desire to actually branch out and work for myself. I began to have images of my own office, of having a space to have healing between myself and other individuals. I began to see myself doing this work in such a deep way that it began to consume me. It was one of the most important times of my life to really help and show me what was possible. At the same time, I was miserable. I was horrified by what I was feeling, because the greater this desire became, the stronger I held on to my belief that I couldn't do it on my own and that I needed to work for others. And so I began to feel this massive resistance to life. When I began to feel that, I began to feel this deep feeling of hopelessness that it ultimately led to this feeling of despair. It was this feeling of, I have to do this. If I don't, it will feel as though I'm going to die. That is how significant our life purposes feel. So I understood that dynamic, that when we begin to feel a calling within our hearts, we begin to feel this passion, this excitement, even though there might be fears and challenges. Those excitement and that looking forward and that sense of wonder and creation outweighs the fear. When we are holding on to dear life, not wanting things to change, while our soul is wanting to bring us a different experience, it will feel horrible. It will begin to feel off, like we're resisting something, because we are. We're resisting the very life that we were meant to live. It has to do with our soul's agreements. It has to do with our soul's destiny. But most importantly, we must have a willingness to allow the possibility to come into our life and the courage to act on it. But most of us don't. So while I was feeling that dynamic of working for somebody else, but also simultaneously having this desire to have this whole entire service, well, those were two completely different realities. I had to understand which reality was it that I wanted to live, and I had to feel it deep within myself. Both of them offered great opportunities, but there was one where I knew that if I didn't pursue it, it would feel as though I failed. One of the greatest tools that actually helped me through that process was, believe it or not, writing my own obituary. If I was not to pursue my life's purpose, that deep desire in my heart to stop working for others and create this whole service for myself, what would I live? What would my life be like? What would my obituary say? And when I wrote it, my heart was broken and I was devastated. And I realized in that moment that I absolutely was not fully committing to the life of service that I promised in my NDE. And so it was a moment where I had to take deep looks within myself. And at that time, although life was good, I knew that there was something greater and bigger coming. Speaking of greater and bigger, the greater I resisted my life to flow, it was like the greater I resisted my life and myself. I became overweight, I became sickly, I became very stressed and overwhelmed, and life did not work. The more that I resisted making the changes that I need to make, the worse I felt, until it came to a point where it felt like life and death. And in those moments when we make those life commitments, till death do us part, until the very end of retirement, if part of us has to be dead, is that in order to live that life? If we have to feel deadened inside to live that, is that not till death do us part? Is that not fully living? It isn't. And in those moments, we have to make those really tough decisions. But it doesn't have to come to a crisis moment. When we are living in a state of flow, listening to those small guidances and acting on them in those small moments, life is easier. When we are not resisting those small decisions, they don't pile up where they stack upon us and overwhelm us. Mine stacked upon me for about 6 years, until it came to the point where I had absolutely no choice but to make those big life decisions. And no matter how difficult they were, no matter how hard they were, no matter how painful they were, no matter how much pain it caused, in the outcome, everything shifted and changed for the better. Everything was able to be rearranged in a way that it was meant to be. Everything began to flow in a different way, in a different place, in a different state, when I myself wasn't blocking it. The more that I began to act upon the things that felt better and making those decisions, my life began to flow. It is incredible to see where my life is right now because I stopped resisting making those changes, listening to the guidance, and understanding that even though it might create a chain reaction and have a cause upon others and in their lifetime, there are soul agreements that we have made even prior to our incarnation, where they themselves also chose this experience for the learning and the growth of their soul as well. So even though we might want to take the blame for all of this pain that we may cause by creating these big shifts and changes, their souls also are in agreement and are experiencing that by agreement and also by choice. It's uncomfortable for both. Change is hard and change is uncomfortable, but those are the things that we need to do to be in flow with life. Follow the things that feel good. Keep doing what feels good. Stop doing what doesn't. It really is that simple, but we overcomplicate it in our mind. Stop doing what doesn't feel good and keep doing what does feel good. And then begin to create ways that feel even better. When you follow that deep feeling of connection and even excitement and joy, even through the struggle and the challenge, because there is always struggle and challenge, accept it, know it, you'll get through it, it'll be better when you do. Just feel the joy through it. When you are willing to follow that joy that is that guide within you, then you will know that you are pursuing your life's purpose. You know you are doing what you are meant to do because it feels exciting. Some doesn't even feel like work. It is that pursuit of that deep fire that is placed inside of our heart before we were even born. That's how we know whether we are pursuing our life's purpose or not. So the next video, I'll explain soul agreements and what those are and how we can look at them. So thank you so much for watching again. May you enjoy. Thank you so much for being here and for continuing this journey with me.